I hate to break it to you, but you learn absolutely nothing from success. A brief interlude between the string of failures that go into any enterprise. And don't worry, it's not going to be a negative vlog today, but I do urge you to listen to this, because there have been many periods in my life when I've gone, yeah, I just think I'm going to be successful now, and no more failures. I'm not going to create any more cataclysms in my life. It's simply not how life works. Because I think success comes from the repurposing of failures into lessons. And the more lessons we have, the more learned we become. So they don't become traumas, not things that you fear, or indeed things that you blame on others. Reprogramming your brain and saying to yourself, this could be useful. What can we learn from this? I think this is the way forward. And I guess that's why I set up this channel. Not to share my successes at all. I don't know if I've ever spoken of what it was like to go to the BAFTAs when I've been nominated. This channel is all about failures, so you can avoid them, hopefully. And because we're a creative bunch, create failures all of your own, but own them you must. This is the first step. This video is going to be totally pointless if you lack the ability to self-reflect, to look at your part in any disaster, trauma, failure, cataclysm. It may feel like outside sources are at play here. What fucker caused this to happen to me? And I understand that, but here's the nub. The only thing you are in control of is yourself, your actions, your decisions. And if you really do feel, no, on this occasion, it really was nothing to do with me, it was to do with them or that, well, ask yourself this: who chose to work with them or that? The focus is on your part, whether that's simply distancing yourself from difficult people. But don't try to control others. The only person you can do that to is yourself. I'm just finishing up on a massive project. The thing that I'm most proud of, 360 cues, 10 hours of music, we got to hour 22 in the timeline. It was the conglomeration of all the mistakes I've made over the last 25 years into a system that got me to the finish line with my job intact. Was it completely fault-free? Of course not, but it was pretty tight. It was also a project where I actively tried to dig my own grave. They basically wanted a library of tracks and they were going to get a music editor to put it all to picture. And I said, no, it's a massive series that people are going to binge watch, and therefore I don't want them to be hearing the same cues over and over again. It feels lazy to me. And as it came out of my mouth, these words, I wanted to grab them and shove them back in, but it was too late. I said, I want to write every single cue, kind of setting myself up to fail. By being tenacious, you combat the dark tetrad of fear, doubt, and trauma. Fear of the unknown, fear of failure. Doubt is your exit card. I doubt I can do this. Well, there's another word for that: cowardice. And whilst it may be a comfortable, shitty nappy to slumber in, it's a bit smelly. That self-doubt that is preventing you from enjoying success, or even a bit of trauma. I mean, failure and success is a fairly binary term, but there is an in-between, and that's just nothing. But of course, let us accept that there are past traumas. I think one that a lot of us share is a fear of public speaking. And my theory on this is it's born out of being 12 years old and a teacher making you stand up in front of your peers who are all laughing at you to talk about a subject you know fuck all about. Well, many of us take that trauma into later life. I remember the first couple of times I did seminars, I was just beside myself with nerves until I realized, hey, you've been asked to speak because you're an expert on this subject. What is there to fear? You actually know what you're talking about, and they're going to ask you some questions, not laugh at you, and you'll answer them because you know the answers. The fear is wrapped up in the trauma. The doubt is based on that horrific experience that you had. And I guess it's fear of fear itself, really. Fear of doing something scary, doing something unknown, doing something that may damage you. But I promise you one thing, many people who are my age or older will agree with this. You turn 20 and that seems like an eternity. You turn 30 and you go, jeepers, where did my 20s go? And it is with no joy to tell you that you get to a certain age and the decades, they just strafe by. The only comfort I get out of being 50 and feeling like I'm still 15 is that I've failed loads, learned loads, and have been on adventures. And I've got a theory about adventures. Adventures sound fun, but they're absolutely shit. I mean, when at the beginning of Raiders of the Lost Ark, what frame does Harrison Ford's character look like he's having a laugh? Changing tack. I think actually saying doubt is just cowardice is unfair, because the biggest baggage that we carry around with us, all of us, are the projections onto us of others. And deprogramming that kind of brainwashing and conditioning is a really tough thing to do, because if it happened in your formative years, it happened when your brain was still plastic. So these kind of scars are kind of burnt into our lizard brain and really take some overcoming. If you don't know about projection, I know that there's a group of people who often say, pointing, it's like 1 finger forward, 3 fingers back. When people accuse you of something that you don't recognize in yourself, it's because they're basically ejecting that discomfort from themselves onto you, or indeed that they're implanting into you their fear that you're going to try harder, that you're going to overcome fear, doubt, and previous traumas to maybe be more successful. Projection is a way of dragging you down to their level, whether that be the bottom of a bottle or a pint glass, or indeed just inaction. But this realization can also be a trap, because a realization that you've been the subject of prolonged projection is not license to blame. I was on a composing walk and I met this composer who appeared to have all of the ingredients for success. But when we went to the pub afterwards, he was clearly aggrieved that no one was approaching him to talk to him. It's a networking event and these are your peers. And I went up and talked to him and I said, you know, you're not enjoying this. It looks like you're uncomfortable. And he said, well, I'm not a people person. And I just said to him, who told you that? And failure does hurt. You can't suppress that. So you've got to just let it drain away. And once the fog clears, to mix metaphors, that experience, that pain can be of use to you. But the most important, being eaten alive by midges. And if you find it difficult to cope with, there is help, therapy, CBT, antidepressants. But the most important thing is to make sure that you're surrounded by people who are helping you to succeed, supporting you through failure, not hoping that you fail. We all know those friends. The people who see you as competition. Competition is not your competitor, it's your tutor. God, sound like a self-help book. The key thing that's making us fail time and time again is not just ourselves, but the company that we keep. I have learnt about love over the last year or so. And love is such an amazing, I don't want to get emotional, but it's just, love is about belief and support in someone or something. It's about loving someone for who they are, not for what they could be. It is, and it's not altruistic. And this, I think, is the biggest cure that I can offer up as a tonic for the pain of failure, as a means of gaining strength, is helping others. I remember my support structure of fellow composers. The first time I was fired, it was kind of like this. Oh, you wrote it, Jeremy. And that's what I want this new enterprise to be, Crow Hill. Not just a place of tools and resources, but of support. And I know for many of you who have decided to begin a life in music, you may not have the full support of your family and friends, and I get that. There's a generation of musicians who hark back to this, what would I call it, halcyon period, when musicians were all kind of rich. This period just never existed. There's never been a point in history where the large, majority of people who have sat for fucking 10 years learning how to play a lute are lording it up with the laird of the manor. No, they're going as mariachis or wildering wonderberries. I don't know what I'm talking about. From one village to the next, earning a meal, playing greensleeves. So I get it. I get why the people around you are going, woo, don't do that. But for me, in what I would describe as the ecstasy of making music, particularly your own music, is something we shouldn't deny ourselves. We just may have to find that support by looking a little further. In my own eyes, I recently suffered a colossal set of failures. Painful at first, let it drain away. They call it kind of something steps of grief. But out of it comes this revelation that I have 15 years of mistakes, poor judgments, poor choices, errors, surprises, not nice ones. So I'm going to take these 15 years of fuck-ups, foul-ups and things I'd wish to forget. Success for me is wrapped around failure. So to imitate previous success is to ensure you repeat those failures. I'm a little bit rusty with the old talking to the camera thing, so I hope this monologue's been all right. The future of this enterprise starts with this channel. If you haven't subscribed, I really would appreciate it if you did, because it means a lot to a startup like this. Subscribe, tell your friends about it, tell them to subscribe, ding the bell. There's so many exciting things to come, and I don't want you to miss out on those.